All right, let's have some fun today. Let's go over my early predictions for the MLB trade deadline. I'm going to go over 7 trades. I have my Aaron Boone Savages from the Bronx, New York shirt on, ready to go for this official video. Again, I'm going to do my final trade deadline predictions about a week or just a few days before the deadline, which is July 30th. But I think these are fun predictions here, fun proposals, and I think they are living in reality because of teams' needs, and a lot of these needs are being identified a little bit more rapidly now because of injuries and other things and lack of depth here, whatever it is. But guys are getting hurt. Like Aaron Hicks from the Yankees has to have wrist surgery now, and he's going to probably miss the entire season. And it was just announced today, and the Yankees are already talking to the Rangers about a trade for Delino DeShields for outfield depth and protection. He's raking in the minors. Now, personally, they have Greg Allen. They acquired him, and he gives them a lot of years of control and versatility. He's younger than DeShields, and they also have Estevan Florial. I just hope if they do acquire DeShields, it doesn't block those two guys. But I understand the logic behind these raking, and they need another guy in the outfield. And I'm still not sure if they're going to keep Clint Frazier or Miguel Andujar. And it's really interesting to see where the Yankees are at right now. They're playing really well, but they kind of seem to be at a turning point or an inflection point for certain players. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do. And not only that, some noteworthy trade news today. The Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm reading it right from MLBTradeRumors.com, the Tampa Bay Rays sent shortstop Willie Adams and a righty reliever Trevor Richards to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for 2 relievers, J.P. Frierson and Drew Rasmussen. So this is, again, a low-key move, which will probably make a big impact for the Tampa Bay Rays. They are very good at making these incremental moves like this that are not flashy, not sexy, but have tremendous impact, particularly in the bullpen every year. They always wind up with a nasty bullpen at the end of the season. And they're doing it, again, before the deadline, in which case prices are probably going to go up, particularly for players that are playing well. So, smart move by the Rays. I expect other moves to happen from particularly contending teams. So, be on the lookout for that. But let's go to the trade proposals, or predictions, okay? Prediction number 1. I'm reading my big book here. The Atlanta Braves send Ender Inciarte, one of their outfielders at the major league level. Austin Riley, who's one of their infielders, a third baseman at the major league level, a young prospect, but he's been struggling. And Jared Schuster, who's their number 7 prospect and a left-handed pitcher, over to the Chicago Cubs for Chris Bryant. Now, some folks think, and I've proposed Bryant to the Braves before, people are like, Riley. Well, fact is, Bryant represents a huge upgrade over Riley, period. And he's having a renaissance season, having more, getting closer to his more MVP-like season. Yes, he's going to cost some money because of the seasons he's having, but he's worth it. Chris Bryant, he's an all-star, he's a superstar, he's an MVP. He's got a World Series championship in his belt, so he brings a lot of pedigree and a lot of experience over to the Braves, who are an elite bat away, and he brings that elite bat. And again, he can play the infield, he can play the outfield. He's an upgrade also over Pablo Sandoval. I know you've got Ozuna in right, and you've got Ozuna in left and Acuna in right, but there's the ability to move things around too, because he can play third base, he can play the outfield if you give Ozuna a day off for a different position, and he also gives the opportunity to give Freeman a day off on occasion by playing first base. So, plus, for a guy like this, they will make the positions work for these guys. So, that's what teams do. You add a guy like this and you make it work regardless. So, he gives them versatility, gives them flexibility, gives them the elite bat, elite defense, and he's a superstar. So, that's trade number 1. Trade number 2, and this is one of 2 trades by the Angels. This is a little bit more bold because my first trade, they sent Joe Adell, who was one of their most highly touted prospects, but he hasn't really translated well yet to the majors. And Jack Kokanowicz, who's a number 7 prospect in the minors, a right-handed pitcher, over to the Texas Rangers for Joey Gallo. And he's an elite, star left-handed bat who plays the outfield. And again, I know they've got Jared Walsh, and they've got this other kid against Marsh, if I'm not mistaken. Some young kids who can play the outfield. But remember, Justin Upton also he's on a very expensive contract. I know he plays left field, but bringing in somebody like Gallo gives them an opportunity to move Upton over to first base if they want to, now that Pujols is not there. And it just gives them versatility. It gives positional guys a chance to have DH days. Gallo's an elite fielder, and he's got a rocket for an arm too. So you don't have to rush some of these young kids. Adell, even if they get him without Adell, totally fine too. I don't see it happening without Adell, unfortunately, but crazy things have happened. But Adele would not have the pressure cooker. Well, not a pressure cooker, but I think he would be in a new change of scenery place in Texas, have opportunities in a little bit more of a low-key environment there to develop and continue moving forward. And but again, if he stayed in the Angels, I would have no problem with that. But Gallo is an upgrade over Adele, significant one. And they need an extra bat in that lineup. They also need an extra pitcher, which brings me to my next trade. The second trade is they send Jordan Adams, their number 3 prospect, who's an outfielder, and who they have a superfluous. They've got an abundance of outfielders, so it makes sense to move a guy like this. So, and even though Trout's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, plus that's the other thing, Joey Gallo gives them an opportunity to keep their offense, help keep them afloat while Trout's getting, while he's healing from a calf strain, without putting pressure on some of the young guys. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. So back to the trade, they send Jordan Adams, the outfielder, who's again dealing from a position of excess, and Hector Yan, who's their number 10 prospect, the left-handed pitcher, over to the Detroit Tigers for Matthew Boyd, starting pitcher. The reason why I have Matthew Boyd instead of some of these other guys like Max Scherzer, first of all, the package is going to be more robust for Scherzer, but Scherzer's a free agent at the end of the season. Boyd comes with another year of control. He's pitching to pretty much a sub-2 ERA right now, and he's found his stuff again. He's had an off game here and there, but he's pitching extremely well this year. And even Michael Fulmer is pitching really well out of the bullpen as a surprise. So maybe they package both of them. Who knows? I don't think they will, but Boyd represents an upgrade in the starting rotation for the Angels that they desperately need. And again, I think it's easier to get Boyd than it will be Scherzer. So, and that's my opinion. But those are the two trades. So they get, they bring in Gallo and they bring in Matthew Boyd. The Angels are a better team, period. And they're much more competitive. And I don't know if it's enough to take off the A's, but it could be enough to get into the playoffs. So, number 4 trade, the New York Yankees send prospect Luis Medina and unfortunately probably Clint Frazier over to the Colorado Rockies, not for Trevor Story, not for German Marquez, but for starting pitcher John Gray. And he's a free agent at the end of this year, so they might be able to get him without Clint Frazier, with another prospect or something like that, or maybe an additional positional prospect or pitching prospect. But again, dealing from a position of excess again. And now that if the Yankees bring in Delino DeShields, like I mentioned earlier, you've got an excess outfielder. So, and I know Frazier, and I'd love for him to be able to stay here and really, 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 really take off. But I have a feeling he'd be moved in a trade for a pitcher, and the Yankees need a pitcher. And again, the same thing applies with Max Scherzer, but for a different reason. Scherzer would be perfect here, but he would put them over the $210 million threshold. They don't have a salary they can send back. They can't send Hicks back because he's having surgery now. He's going to miss the whole year. He's hurt. So that doesn't make any sense. So John Gray represents a more affordable option, and he's pitching really well this year, about a 3.2 ERA, and another arm for that starting rotation. Would I love somebody like Scherzer? Yeah, to put behind Garrett Cole. I just don't see it. I don't see Marquez coming. I don't see Castillo coming, and I don't see Kyle Hendricks because every single one of them is going to put them over the threshold. And Hal Steinbrenner has made it clear that they want to stay under the threshold so they can reset the luxury tax and go after some guys this offseason. That's exactly what they did so they can get Garrett Cole. So I see the logic, and I'm sticking with that logic until Hal Steinbrenner says otherwise. So I'm not going to do proposals that are going to put them over the threshold when he says they want to stay under the threshold. This doesn't make any sense. As fun as it would be, not doing it. So that's trade number 4. And they get a starting pitcher. Trade number 5, the Chicago White Sox send Blake Rutherford, an outfield prospect, and Dane Dunning, who's a right-handed pitching prospect, who's a number 8 prospect for them, over to the Cubs for Jock Peterson. Yes, Jock Peterson. Crosstown trade, baby. Keep in mind, the young outfielders like Luis Robert and some of these other guys had been decimated with injuries this year for the White Sox. Jock Peterson represents depth and protection in the outfield. He's a clutch hitter. He's a left-handed bat, so it gives him versatility. Plus, he has another year of control, so you can move things around. And to me, that makes sense too. And it gives him more options. He's, like I said, he's clutch in the playoffs, and it gives that lineup more versatility with another lefty bat. And they don't have to rush these young outfielders back from injury. So I think it's a good trade all in all, and it gives the Cubs prospect depth and positional depth that they need in return, a positional and a pitching prospect. And I could see them. I could see them moving Jock. I can see them moving Hendricks. I can see them moving Bryant. Like I said already, I could see them undergoing a significant retooling. They might not get rid of everybody. I think Baez is probably going to wind up just leaving in free agency. And who knows with the other guys? But they can recoup some prospect capital by moving Jock and Bryant. And I don't know if they'll move Schwarber. They might get something back for him, but Jock, I can see them getting more back than they would get for Schwarber. So that's trade number 5. Trade number 6. And this to me is a pretty significant one. The Boston Red Sox send Bobby Dalbec, first baseman at the Major League level now. He was in a prospect for a while. Christian Arroyo, second baseman at the Major League level. And Brian Matta, who's their number 7 prospect, their right-handed pitching prospect. So they're sending 2 positional players who've already reached the majors and a right-handed pitching prospect over to the Indians, Cleveland Indians, for Jose Ramirez. So he can play multiple positions. I know they've got third base pretty much locked down, but he can play first base. And I know Tristan Casas is the number 1 prospect. He's a first baseman, but he hasn't played above A ball yet. And I don't think he's going to be ready until probably 2023. So you'd have a year and a half of Jose Ramirez before this kid even comes up. And then you can figure what to do then. You can move him to DH. You can do, because JD's probably not going to be here anymore. So it gives you an opportunity to move Jose at DH if he's still here and they need to. And then you give Casas an opportunity at first, and you can, slowly groom him in. So it's just a thought, but, the Indians need some depth, okay? They have excess at the infield positions, the Red Sox. And, a Jose Ramirez gives them a significant upgrade in that lineup and on the field. So, and this trade is contingent upon them staying at the top. If they start to fall apart, I don't see it happening. It doesn't make any sense. And so that's my condition on this particular trade. And last but not least, the Philadelphia Phillies sent Adonis Medina, who's one of their top 5 prospects, is a right-handed pitcher, and Casey Martin, who's a number 6 prospect, but he's a multi-positional player for the infield, plays second, plays shortstop, over to the Brewers for Josh Hader. They need another dominant reliever. The Brewers have 3 now. Okay, they have Devin Williams and a young kid, if I remember, is it Drew Rosenthal, maybe is his name. I may have pronounced it wrong in another video, but I think it's Drew Rosenthal. So, and he can essentially replace Hader. He's got much more years of control. Hader's at the point now where he's becoming expensive. Phillies are one of the few teams who can eat that contract, because he's going to be $10 million now. He's probably going to be up to 15 and even higher. He still comes at 2 years of control after this year. So he brings great value. So the Brewers can afford to move him and get some positional prospect and pitching prospects in return without really missing a beat, because they still have those 2 elite relievers and some pretty good starting pitching as well. So, and this gives that Phillies that dominant shutdown reliever that they need. They need one more reliever. I know they retooled this offseason, but they need another shutdown reliever. Hader gives them just that. So those are my 7 predictions. Again, I'm going to do my final predictions right before the deadline, and they'll be somewhat different than these, although some of these might remain. But this is based on, where things are now, teams' needs now. And I'm guessing teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, who did today, will be making moves before the deadline. So before prices can get ridiculously high if players keep playing well. So that's why I'm doing an early list, and then I'll do my final list right before. So let me know what you think. Give me your feedback in the comments. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and the bell so you don't miss my final predictions list. And then along the way, you'll see post-game recaps for the Yankees and a bunch of other cool videos along the way. So thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.